Hey, what's up guys, this is Norman3000. Today we take another look at the Snap-on S8. The first review I have for the Snap-on S8 dates back to November 2023 as I bought one for our Innova. I then brought another one for our Suzuki Jimny and did a 6-month follow-up about 6 months ago in June 2024. In the same month, another Snap-on S8 was installed on our Mitsubishi Mirage. Today I give you my 1-year review of the Snap-on S8. I want to give you my thoughts on if it is still worth it, especially as we move into 2025. So first up is the specs. We have 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of ROM. This is advertised as Android 13, but the truth is this has Android 10 as you can see here on my device info. We have a 1280 by 720p screen, 4G capability, wireless wired Android Auto and CarPlay, and the processor of the AC8259 14nm. Let's get right into the performance. 1 year later on continuous use, we use our Jimny at a minimum of about 2 times a week. The performance is still good. When you start your car, the head unit will start up and this is essentially instantaneous. My use case for the Snap-on S8 has still not changed. It is basically for reverse camera, navigation, and music playback. The screen is big and bold. The 9-inch 720p screen is big enough that it does not feel cramped. It works well to aid with reversing via the reverse camera. So for a quick sample, here is the reverse camera. For lightweight apps like the music player, the load and response times are still fairly quick. However, when booting up heavier apps like Maps, YouTube, or Netflix, there is quite a bit of weight. I'm not sure if this is because the Snap-on is getting old or the apps themselves becoming more and more power intensive. Once YouTube or Netflix loads, the response times become a little bit quicker. Maps is kind of a different state. There are some lags when typing and there can be some few mispresses here and there. Once a destination is set, you can start navigating and you feel a sense of normalcy as the GPS is still accurate. I have to add that even when you add offline maps, there are still noticeable load times when opening up the maps. For music playback, I still use MP3s. So I use the music player app and it still works okay. So as you can see here, Spotify doesn't seem to be working anymore. And even though I try to update this one, Spotify is just not opening. So take note of this one. A few more things I would like to add for the Snap-on S8. The first is the Android Auto capability via Z-Link 5. Simply install the app on your phone and pair your phone with the Snap-on S8. And here's a quick sample. So you can see I am now connected with the OnePlus 7 and the Snap-on S8 via Android Auto on Bluetooth. Second is the 4G connectivity. There is a SIM tray here, and adding a SIM is very easy. For my case, I use the magic data of Smart Mobile to navigate maps, and you can also share the data as the Snap-on S8 also has a hotspot capability. Third would be the fit. Snap-on has a slew of options for car brands. You can get an Android head unit that fits your car. None of those OEM crap. You can see here on our Innova, our Jimny, and our Mirage, the Snap-on S8 is perfectly tailored to our car. Nothing was cut off. It arrived perfectly with their fittings. Last would be the remote capability. On our Suzuki Jimny, we don't have a built-in remote. But this cheap 400 pesos remote on Lazada can be connected to the Snap-on S8. This is programmable by the steering wheel's controlling app here. Now we get into some things that I dislike about the Snap-on S8. While I praise the ease of adding a remote to our Jimny, on vehicles that have built-in remotes, you do need to buy a separate CAN bus. For the review with the Innova, the CAN bus costs about 500 pesos. Bear this in mind before buying. If your vehicle has a built-in remote, do not forget to buy a CAN bus, otherwise your remote will be useless. The next nitpick would be the Android version. As the years go by, Snap-on advertises their head units as having later versions of Android. And as of 2024, Snap-on advertises their units with Android 13. But if you install a third-party app like CPU Info or Device Info, it says Android 10. While even in 2025, the Android version does not necessarily affect the performance, we have to take into account that Android 10 has been out for almost 6 years now, with a developer preview dating back to March 2019 and public release back in 2019 of September. This is quite a long time, especially in the tech world, and this model only gets more obsolete over time. While I myself do not know when the apps will stop working with Android 10, that possibility grows bigger as time moves on. Another one to look out for would be the performance. As mentioned earlier, over the course of 2024, there has been a slight dip in performance. This may be to the chip's age or the apps themselves requiring more and more resource to function. How long can the ACA259, the chip of the Snap-on S8, handle continued use of apps like Maps? I don't know. The last talking point I want to bring up would be the price. As of February 2025, the price of the Snap-on S8 is now at 9,000 pesos, about a 1,000 pesos drop from the 10,000 pesos. I have to remind you that this still needs to be installed. While you can do it yourself, labor typically costs about 1,500 to 2,000 pesos or about $30. At face value, 11,000 pesos may be steep, especially for an aging chip in the ACA259 and an aging Android version of Android 10. But if you are searching for an Android head unit, your options are limited in the first place. I have to mention this again for the third time. There are cheaper options out there. The ones carrying the chip of ACA227L can be bought for around 3,000 pesos, but the performance of this is extremely atrocious. I have an upcoming follow-up review for the ACA227L, so stay tuned for that one. If you want to go with Android Auto shops like Growl or Navitopia, they charge so much more. Sure, they have warranties, but essentially you run into the same problems. They essentially have the same chip and Android version at a higher price. For reference, the Snap-on S8's 4GB and 64GB model cost about 9,000 pesos. Add labor, and that's about 11,000. For Growl or Navitopia, their 4GB, 64GB options cost about 22K. That is literally half. So asking the question again, is the Snap-on S8 worth it? A year and 6 months ago, my answer was an easy yes. But now, it is still yes, but with an asterisk. While the Snap-on S8 has held up well over the past year on both our Toyota Innova and our Suzuki Jimny Pony, there are still legitimate concerns as to how long the software can work. Hardware is definitely a concern as well. And with how fast tech is moving, software obsolescence is always something to consider. Personally, I would still take this, but I do so only by default. As mentioned, if you are shopping for an Android head unit, your options are very limited to start with. Between the three of either a cheap 7-inch ACA227L, this is cheap but painfully slow. The other option is going to an Android head unit shop at twice the price, for essentially the same performance. And the last option is the Snap-on S8. The Snap-on S8 with its big screen, sleek design, 4G capability, Android Auto, this is a great choice for me and my preferences. Ultimately, do you need an Android head unit? Of course not. This is more of a convenience tool rather than a necessity. From an economical standpoint, you can get a phone holder like this for $10 and use maps on your phone. You can even opt to buy an Android Auto-based device, but this option is not for me. I like not having to connect my phone to another device. I like the convenience of having a standalone, internet-enabled Android device on my dashboard. What ultimately gravitated me toward the Snap-on S8 is the convenience it brings. I don't have to expose my phone to harsh sunlights while using maps. I don't have to fiddle around and connect my phone with Android Auto. I don't have to use a hotspot for maps because the Snap-on S8 itself has data. For my preference and my use case, the Snap-on S8 is still worth it, but I don't find the value proposition that great compared to a year ago. And that's where I leave you today. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Consider like, sharing, and subscribing if you found this useful. This has been Norman 3000. See you soon, and safe travels.